Okay, we are recording. Hi everybody. Creature Feature Pet Sitting with Cindy the pet sitter and Fred. This is Fred. This is my third attempt to record me and Fred. Third time's a charm, right? Can turn around, maybe? Yeah, it's okay. I've been trying to record me and Fred because, Fred is going to be going to the veterinarian on Friday for the last time. It's his final trip. And I'll explain to you why. Fred is a very old bird. He's an orange-winged Amazon. This year he's 52 years old. You can hear Phoebe in there. And we adopted him from the Arizona Exotic Bird Rescue in Tempe, Arizona, almost exactly 2 years ago. It'll be the first week of May coming up that we would have had him for 2 years. So he was living with a family before that, a husband and wife, and I believe that they had him since he was a young, a chick, and most likely they adopted him after he finished weaning and being hand-fed by whoever his breeder was back then, because I'm pretty sure that he was not wild caught. I mean, being that old, from that era, there were a number of Amazons at that time in the 60s that were wild caught. As a matter of fact, there was an old bird at the rescue at the time that we adopted Fred who still had his import papers, and so they knew for certain that he was a wild caught bird. And he was quite a bit older than Fred, believe it or not. Anyway, he was not tame and would not readily allow people to approach him, so I did not consider, his name was Bert, I did not consider him for a good candidate for us to adopt. I was looking for an older bird to rescue because they are often overlooked at the rescues. So anyway, Fred is very sweet and obviously accepting of people holding him. Did you see that? A pigeon just flew by. We're sitting in my backyard in the patio. You want to do a close-up for the peoples? Let's get you a little closer so people can get a good look at you. There he is, my little Fred. He's about, maybe 11 inches long, something like that. He's very underweight. If you know anything about parrots and you're looking at his breastbone, he is quite thin. So your eyes are not playing tricks on you. He is very thin, and he's continually losing weight. Very slowly, but it's continuing. I have been weighing him every 5 days for the past couple of weeks, and it's dropping more rapidly than it was, say, a month ago. Iced coffee. Best drink in the world. Anyway, so I have a zoologist friend. She worked 21 years at the Phoenix Zoo before she became a pet sitter like myself. She's a colleague of mine. And her theory is that Fred had an underlying infection that was gone undetected before we adopted him. and it manifested itself into a secondary infection a few months after we adopted him. And what it is that he has a chronic sinus infection, and when I did the close-up, you notice that his cheek on his right side here is popped out. We actually have to take a syringe and a needle and poke that needle in there and pull the stuff out that's in that cheek. We have to do that every other day. And it started out where we would only have to do it once every couple of weeks, and we realized something was wrong, and we started treating him for it and trying to extract the blockages in his nostrils. And then over time it grew steadily worse, and he would bleed, and it actually not only blew up on his cheek, but it blew up right around the nostril right there on his head, quite large as well. And so we've been treating him with antibiotics. We've been trying to get the blockages out, physically actually trying to get them out. And then of course we have to extract that puffed up cheek now every other day, because it would rupture if we didn't do that. So this problem with his infection has been going on for about a year, and he's not getting well. It's, and he's, like I said, he's losing weight, and it's bothering him quite a bit. He rubs his head and his face on his perches constantly, and he's starting to rub off his feathers around his eyes, and that area on his cheek that's puffed up, he's starting to rub feathers off of there. And he still occasionally will bleed, and the bleeding will come out through his mouth from like behind the sinuses and drip out down his beak, and it comes out in great big clots along with the fresh blood. And he's rubbing his beak so much that he's shredding it, basically the top of it, the outer layers, and he's created a blister in the skin right here where it connects to the beak. There's a blister that's been there for I don't know how long, and so he's clearly uncomfortable and not feeling well. So we tried everything: injectable antibiotics by mouth, and the latest thing that I've been doing for probably 2 months now is administering antibiotics through a nebulizer. If anybody in the audience has experiences with asthma, you guys would know what a nebulizer is. But it's a little tiny compressor, very tiny, like very tiny. And what it does is it delivers the antibiotic in a mist. And what I do is I enclose him in a small traveling cage and cover it in a thick towel, and have that shooting the little thing that a person would put in their mouth for asthma. It's actually shooting into his cage, and I turn on the nebulizer, and it, just I've been giving him that treatment twice a day for, like I said, about 2 months now. And there's other things associated with an old bird that you have to deal with, like he can't wear down his beak anymore. He's not strong enough to do it. So it has to be drilled off, like with a Dremel drill, because it will interfere with their eating abilities if it's left to continually grow. You can see it's too long right now. But like I said, he's only going to be with us 2 more days, and what's the point? And then his nails have to be trimmed also, and he can't grip perches very well, and he's quite clumsy. And he actually used to fall a lot when he first came to live with us. So interestingly, the setup that we created for him, he wasn't able to live in a cage because he couldn't move around too well, and then we would try to get him out of the cage and he would protest. So we decided to do away with the cage altogether, and we modified a large rolling perch it's got a saucer and it's got wheels, you know, caster wheels, and it's quite large. It's like 36 inches in diameter. And so we modified that so that the perch would go all the way around, and he could move all the way around the perch and get to his dishes, and we modified it so we could hang a water bottle on it. That way he doesn't have to live in a cage at all. And interestingly, he got a little stronger from living in that type of environment rather than being stuck in a cage where he couldn't move around too well. So it just goes to show you that if you move around more, you strengthen yourself even if you're old, you know. But then this other thing is going on that's causing him to suffer anyway. So we didn't come by this decision lightly. We've been talking about it for months and months, and even the veterinarian feels badly that we were not able to be successful in getting rid of this infection. And he, you know, tried his best to advise us and say, well, you know, if you've tried everything that you can and he's still not getting well, then you shouldn't feel badly if you decide to euthanize him. And that's basically what it's come down to now. So since I've tried to do this video 3 times, I've had more time to think about what I'd want to say in it, and I thought that this time around I would take the opportunity to educate someone who may not be familiar with keeping parrots. And let me just say a few things about that nowadays there are bird rescues in every corner of the United States. There are an abundance of bird rescues everywhere that you could possibly live. And the reason for that is because breeders have gone completely nuts in wanting to make money from breeding the birds, and they you know, they want to, of course, sell as many birds as they possibly can. And of course the conditions where they're raised are not ideal, just like with puppy mills. I'm sure you've heard of them. It's a similar type of thing. And really nowadays there's really no needing for breeding of any animal anymore. Okay, whatever you want to get for a pet, there's a rescue for it. So an interesting statistic that I came across not too long ago, a parrot like Fred, average in his lifetime would be passed around 7 different homes, to 7 different homes. Now obviously he's bucked that tradition because I'm the second home that he's in, and then my other parrot in the house, I've had her for 21 years, since she was a baby, and this is the only home she's ever known, and will be the only home unless I die and she gets, basically our daughter would inherit her. But of course she lived with our daughter when our daughter was young and still lived with us. And so it doesn't mean that she's going to a different home. She's still with the family. And that's what you have to consider when you get a parrot or a reptile, because reptiles are also long-lived. And some of you have probably seen my video about King Charles, my box turtle. His enclosure is sitting right here behind the camera. I did a video about that enclosure that he's living in. I've had that turtle for 20 years as well, and he probably will live 20 or 30 more years. You have to consider that when you want to have an animal, a long-lived animal such as a parrot or a reptile for a pet. You don't want to buy them or, you know, decide to take them home impulsively. And birds especially are flock animals. They want to be with their flock forever, and it's difficult for them to get passed around 7 times. So I mean, there's 2 lessons to be learned here. That you don't want to go to a breeder and keep giving them a reason to stay in business, number 1. And number 2, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to provide that bird with a lifetime, a good lifetime with you as his flock. All right? So, That's why when I went to the rescue 2 years ago looking for one to adopt, I wanted an old bird because I knew they were being overlooked, and sure enough, there were probably 8 of them there who were considered old birds and nobody wanted to adopt them. But if he hadn't had this problem with this infection, he probably could go on many more years. But, you know, it's like watching somebody die of cancer. It's this long, slow, painful death, and I wouldn't want to do that myself, and I'm certainly not going to put any of my animals through that. So, but we've done the best we could with him. You know, like I said, we modified that perch for him to live on so he wouldn't have to live in a cage. He did not have a good environment in his previous home. I could tell by his condition when I adopted him. You can see how beautiful green coloring he is right now. He wasn't like that when he came to live with us. He was almost gray colored. And that was a clear indication that his diet was not ideal, or even close to ideal. And of course, like I said, he was having trouble living in a cage, and I do believe that he was in a cage his entire life before he went to that, before he came to live with us, because he was in a cage at the rescue too. I know you guys could hear that. That is a wild lovebird. Here in Arizona, we have colonies and flocks of wild lovebirds, and they're just like the ones you see in the pet stores. And sometimes on my feeder over there, there'll be about 3 pairs of them all together sitting on that feeder early in the morning. It's really cool to watch that. So anyway, what he likes to eat is a lot of fresh, what we do is we thaw out like fresh frozen berries and mixed veggies like the corn niblets and the carrot chunks and the green beans, and some of them will put soybeans or lima beans in with the mix, a little bit of peppers or something. You could find different mixes like that, but he really likes that kind of a mix, and we thaw that out in the morning along with the berries, and we put a few spoonfuls in a dish for him, and he nibbles on that all day long. And then for his dry food, he has a mixture of tropical dried fruits, and you want to get the kind that is made for birds, because the kind that's made for humans, they add a ton of sugar and preservatives to keep it looking, you know, colorful and fresh, so it can sit on a shelf for forever. You don't want to feed anything like that to a bird. You want to get the kind that's made for birds. And I buy it in a huge bulk 20-pound bag so that it's cost effective. And they get hemp seeds, not the kind that are hulled, but the ones that still have their hull on them. That's a very good food, what you call a superfood for birds. And they get their pellets, which is their staple food. It's almost like a kibble for birds. Top Organics is the one that I get. And it has a lot of alfalfa and other vegetables, and it almost looks like rabbit food that you would give to a pet rabbit, but it's way more nutritionally dense. And again, I buy that in a huge, gigantic bag too, so it'll be cost effective. But I mix all that together in their dry dish, so they get no seeds. I will crack a almond for them once in a while, or a walnut for them once in a while. And since he's weak with his beak, I have to pre-crack it for him and let him like do the rest himself. And it's the same with my other parrot. She was hand-fed from her breeder, and because they didn't do it correctly, she has what they call a scissors beak. So the beak is actually like this. And that causes her to not eat nuts properly like she should be able to. An Amazon should be able to crack any kind of a nut almost. But she can't because of that scissors beak. So we pre-crack nuts for her. And they, you know, with all those things that I give them, it's such a wide variety of dietary foods. And that's what all birds should be eating. You don't just give them a seed mix, and you don't just give them one kind of pellet. It's just not healthy. So once he was on that for a few months, all his color came back in his feathers. And you can see on his beak, he's got all that purple and everything. That's from eating his berries. Let's go see if the camera's still running. The other day when I tried to do this, the battery died and I didn't even know it. Yeah, we're still running. Okay, so let's see. Of course, any questions or anything you guys have, you can put it in the comments, and after I grieve for a little while, I don't know when I'll actually post this video. I'm not very experienced at doing videos. I'm trying to teach myself how to edit them, because some of the YouTube videos are so well done, and I wish I could get to that point, and hopefully I will. But I'm not what you call a tech savvy type person anyway. And when this one gets posted, you can certainly ask me any questions about parrots, about any kind of animal, really. If you ask me something about a species I never heard of or whatever, I'll still try to find answers for you, because that's how I am as far as the animal world is concerned. I place a lot more importance on care and proper pet parenting on the animal world, more so than most people I know. The only other people I know besides my family members who put that much importance on caring for animals and looking out for them are my fellow pet sitting colleagues, the group that we're in here in Arizona Professional Pet Sitters and Associates. Mind you, not every member is at that level, but with dedication and perseverance, they will get there someday. Because you're not born that way. No one's born that way. You have to learn how to be a proper pet caretaker, a proper animal caretaker. You just have to choose to do it, that's all. Anyway, what else could we talk about, Fred? I think you're enjoying being out here, actually. You want to take a picture? Then the light's not bad. Let me say. I already got you and Phoebe on my cover photo for my phone. The light's behind you. Okay, how's that? And the flash is on. Nice. Okay. Fred. If we had Phoebe out here right now, she'd want to go back in the house, I think, right away. She's more of a skittish bird. Oh, I know what we can talk about. How come we know that Fred is a boy? Well, really, you don't know for sure with most parrots. With Phoebe, she is a white-fronted Amazon, and the coloring on her subspecies of Amazon changes on the females and the males. So you can tell by looking at them if they are a male or a female, and that's why I know she's a female. Most times, though, you have to take an invasive type of a test, like a blood test or something like that, to find out if your bird is a male or a female. I didn't want to do that, which is why I was interested in the white-fronted Amazon in the first place. And then of course there's a parrot called an electus parrot, where one is one color and one is the other color. One is green and one is red. I forget which one is which, but one of them is a male and one of them is a female. But Fred, I don't know if he was ever tested. We were told when we adopted him that he was a boy, and we just took them on their word. However, he does act more like a male Amazon than he does a female Amazon. So I'm pretty certain that he is a male. He's been a very good bird. All these things that we've had to do for him to try and get him well, he just lets us do it. I've never had, handled a parrot that was that receptive to having things poked and prodded and squeezed and you name it. It makes it all the more difficult because he's been so sweet. Can we show the people your wings? Like I said, he's an orange wing. So let's see if we can spread one out. Okay, don't get mad. Let me spread it. Don't. Let me spread it. See that? He's got a little bit of blue in there too. He had his wings were clipped way back when we first adopted him. And I didn't understand why they did that when he hardly could move, let alone fly. So we've never ever, he's been here, like I said, almost 2 years, and we've never re-clipped them or clipped them anymore. And that might be why he was falling down a lot too in the beginning, because he used to fall off his perch all the time. And he needs some of that, some wing existence to help him get balance and stuff. And so they're great people over there at the rescue, but I don't think that they either had the opportunity or were able to find a way to give themselves the opportunity to look at all their rescues as individuals, to see what their individual needs and problems and issues were, because they should have known that he didn't need his wings clipped back that far. They should have known that he had this infection. They should have known that he shouldn't have been living in a cage. A lot of things like that. But going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rescues in a rapid period of time, I could see why things would get by them. So I don't blame them for the situation at all. And I would, if I ever wanted to adopt another bird, I would go back to them. So it's not like I'm upset with them or angry at them or holding any grudges or anything like that. Anytime that you adopt a senior animal, you're always taking the chance that there's going to be some issues health-wise. That's just the nature of it, Okay, let's do one more close-up. Give the director, Mr. DeMille, another chance to do a close-up on you. What are you talking about, Mom? There's no director here. Okay, I want to say goodbye to the peoples. Okay, I want to turn you around the other way. No, I can't turn my hand that far. Whoop, get back up there. Show them your cheek so they can see. Oh, we have a hummingbird visiting us. She's right above us right here. Just went up to the jacaranda tree up there. I have 2 feeders hanging right there, but they're not colorful enough, and so I don't get as many hummingbirds as I should. Some people get like dozens and dozens and dozens all in like one morning session around here, because there's well, I was reading that there's over 300 species, subspecies of hummingbirds, something like that, and there's been documented 14 of them that are here in Arizona. So I should have a lot more coming to my feeders, I'm sure. Okay, you ready to go back to your cage? Or not to your cage, to your perch? I can't think of anything else to tell the peoples about you. Do you want to say something? You've been making a little bit of noises here and there. He can say some words, but I can't make out what they are exactly. Some people have tried to figure out what he said, but he knows good boy Fred. I know that. And what else? I don't think he's been feeling good though, so he hasn't been talking as much lately. One thing he does though is he will scream for his breakfast and scream for his dinner. So that's a normal thing with parrots, for them to scream in the morning and scream in the evening. But it's a myth that parrots scream all the time. They just don't. It's a morning and evening thing, and they're doing it when it's time to call their flock in, you know, or they'll do it to warn, like to give a warning if there's like danger, or you know, whatever reason they got to give a warning to their flock, they'll scream. So that's normal, and you cannot train that out of them. And you don't want to do any of that stupid junk like spray water bottles at them and jingle a noisy can at them, or you know, yell at them, or you know, shut them away someplace. If you're going to be doing anything like that because you don't like the noise that they make, do not get a bird, period. Okay? Okay. Did you hear that? You going to make that little noisy again? I think he's liking being out here. What do you think? I know you don't feel they're your best, but you're enjoying some things, right? And he's known that we love him. That's all that counts. Okay. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And look for future videos. As I get better at editing them, I will put more up. I promise. Okay, bye-bye.